Again.
Okay, we're back again.
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
He said, "Sir, we back again."
We're back again.
Yeah. So, how you
So
guys
my
doing?
friend Richard, and we did the video together. And so I was walking down, and then all of a sudden I was like, Richard? And I'm talking on the phone, and you tell your story now.
So just before he said Richard, about 30 seconds before then, I was down there kind of doing the little boy thing, and I was thinking about the area because we had did a video here earlier, and I said, I wonder where Eric at. And lo and behold, he walks up the sidewalk and said, Richard, like a ghost. Seriously, guys.
Like a ghost, you hear?
Like a
you
ghost.
hear how he is?
He just-
You hear how he is? That's it. Like a ghost. Yeah, there we go.
But you know what, guys? You should watch his work. You should go to his YouTube channel and watch him, watch him, watch him. I enjoy everything he put up. Very controversial sometimes, but that's the
Never.
That's the, you know, that's the attitude of a good reporter, a good writer.
All right. God bless.
God bless you guys. Love you, America.
There
Just
we go.
Pray, and go get your shot.
You get shot.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I don't want to get shot, dude. Get shot,
Oh,
you die.
get what's the thing called? The COVID-19 shot in your shoulder. Yeah, go get that so we can live a little bit longer because you know it's gonna be another
Or
spread.
go get a cup of coffee.
How about a good strong glass of water?
There we go.
Yeah.
All right. All right. That's it for now.
All right, guys.
So I'm here with Daniel Dixon, and welcome to the Eric Bear channel. And we met out at Frontside.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was my first instructor out there, and that was an amazing experience. Just getting some training in handgun shooting.
Yeah. Most fun job in the entire universe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I that's been my most fun job ever.
Yeah.
So.
More fun than preaching?
Yeah, actually it is.
A lot less headaches.
Yeah, less headaches and, you know, still people with guns, but, you know.
But what I liked about Daniel is just that he's a family, 7 kids, right?
Well, I have 8 kids. And,
8 kids, huh?
And I'm married to a girl now that has 1 grown-up child, so we can count 9.
That's incredible.
And 2 of my 8 were borrowed for 10 years, so.
It's 10% of Perum's population.
Yeah.
10%.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my. So.
But we get Daniel. He's just a fine gentleman. He's led a lot of souls to Jesus Christ in heaven, and then he's also helped his whole family to be on the defensive mode and learn how to protect themselves, not just with a gun, but also in martial arts and things like that. And
Yeah.
so we were talking about that. I actually was trained by his son this weekend at Front Sight. They've just got a lot of different things that you can learn, defensive things to help you and your family in those situations that could happen. So how'd you get into the whole martial arts? And all your kids are kind of involved in that, yeah?
Not all of them. They've all been introduced to it. Some of them really wanted to do it a lot. Some of them didn't. Some of them were growing up while I was very active doing it, and some of them were growing up where I wasn't doing it as much and I was doing some other things. But they've all been introduced to it and been around me while I was training and teaching other people. But I got into it actually in college. Is when I started training, and I was training at a dojo in town. Various forms of karate were being taught there. We had Kenpo and Kenpo. Sounds the same, but they're different. One's with an M, one's with an N. And a couple of other versions of it. And I spent several years doing that and really enjoyed it. Spent hours and hours a day doing it. But it did not meet the needs I had for it. It was not designed for the purposes I had for it. And so I was really looking for something that was geared more toward what I wanted to be able to do with martial arts. I was never into the sport of it, and was not interested in that. I was into the realistic encounter side of it, and was interested in training in things that would apply well in realistic instances that you might get into anywhere in normal life. And so I was hunting for something else.
Yeah, and that's what I thought was absolutely amazing, because I've done quite a few, not to the degree that you have, but a lot of martial arts stuff. But what I really liked about this whole thing that was at Frontsight was that it's short, it's concise. It's not getting into the ring and having long battles. It's when that opponent comes up to present danger to you or your family, and you don't have a weapon, what do you do? And how to strike immediately, strike hard and fast, and get away. What's the different things that you guys say there?
Well, I'm not sure what exactly he said to you. He's a good teacher. He's grown up with it. My oldest son, Chris, and we worked together in that program, and we developed that program for Frontsight.
He said something about you say you strike, then you back up and then seek cover. Get in where you can just get away. That's
okay,
the whole point of that. Yeah.
The sum total of all the training comes down to this. The goal of the training is to give you the capability and skill to inflict pain and damage, to disrupt balance, and to find safety. Our whole goal for the class is that you'd be able to do that well enough that you would survive an immediate deadly threat. And everything that we're teaching there is within that mindset. I'm faced with an immediate deadly threat. What do I need to be able to do to cope with the kinds of things that people do when they're trying to bring harm to you or your family or other innocent people? And our whole goal is not to get in some big, long, drawn-out brawl or fight. Our goal is to get done and get away safely. And what can I do to make that happen? And so we inflict pain and damage, we disrupt balance, and we find safety. Now, finding safety may require that you be able to deploy a superior weapon. And so all the training has to do with what I do. We said the scope of the class is going to come down to a very narrow limit. We're focusing on those encounters that are 1 to 4 movements, and they're over, like in 2 to 4 seconds.
Yeah,
just like a gunfight.
Yeah,
they're usually over very quickly. And what you do, especially on the very first action, the very first physical action that happens, usually determines how that's going to go and who is going to come out on top. And so your ability to deal with that very first physical action, your ability to cope with that, your ability to hit first if necessary, even if they start it, you still want to be the one that makes the first solid contact. And so we teach something called simultaneous defense and attack, so that we reprogram people so that they respond structurally faster than they normally would. And so it's kind of like in handgun class, where we're telling you that count 1, both hands have something to do. And so one hand's going to the midsection to make sure you know where it's at and it's not in front of your gun. The other hand's going to the gun. That's count 1. Count 1 includes doing 2 things at the same time. Well, in an encounter where someone's trying to do harm to you, that first move, if they make that first move, you need to respond in a way that allows you to defend what they're doing and strike at the same time, so that in that one move you have struck, not just blocked. And so we don't even talk about blocking as much as we do about misdirecting. But there's a series of principles that we teach throughout the class, along with some techniques and along with some responses and some skills. And we rotate segments of training where we gain more insight, more understanding, and more skill with what that segment teaches as we repeat it over and over again throughout the class time. And we do the same thing with some specific drills and scenarios that we repeat over and over again. And we have students work with staff, and we have them work with each other, and then we have them change partners so that you're dealing with someone bigger than you, someone smaller than you, someone the same size as you, someone who has more reach or less reach, someone who is faster, someone is stronger. You get all of that exposure, and in the process of doing those drills and those scenarios repeatedly with different partners, each time you're adding to that skill and capability and that understanding of whatever the principle is you're applying. And you gain more knowledge and understanding as you repeat it, and you begin to grow it. We begin to increase speed, and we increase the intensity of it. That would be increasing like the aggressiveness of what you're dealing with, and we increase the difficulty of it. And as you do that, gradually the student, the class member, begins to get, first off, less alarmed by the fact somebody's trying to hit them or hurt them, and they can begin to get used to that and familiar with it, and they begin to see and read all of the little actions that people do as they are attempting to do various things. And it's a language of conflict, and they learn that language of conflict, and they begin to read those pre-conflict cues or tells, or however you want to explain it. But
like the thing that I thought that was really cool is what Chris really helped me out with today is, 3 days ago, it was just the thought of, in that situation where somebody does square off, you don't really have a way out. Obviously, just walk away if you can. But where, somebody's squared off, you're maybe cornered, you're trying to get in your car, something's going on, and you know that this person there's something going on with this person, and you're backed into a corner, you don't know how to deal with this, is to get in there with an immediate answer, physically, to get this person away from you.
Yeah.
And so it's not like you're looking for a fight. But one thing I thought was really interesting, I want you to touch on too, is so you're like got trained by Bruce Lee or something?
No, I wish that would have been the case. He actually died about 3 years before I started training with Joseph. Joseph was one of Bruce's early students.
Wow.
In the Seattle area. There's a group of them that were the first students that he had when he came to America.
A group that Bruce Lee taught.
That Bruce Lee. His name is Li Jun.
Incredible.
Li Jun Fan. He was a child movie star in China, TV star, movie star. He came from a family of entertainers. He played the character, the Little Dragon, and a lot of things came together to motivate him to train in martial arts. He was one of the private students of Yip Kai Man, probably the most well-known Wing Chun instructor in the history of China.
Wow.
But he was motivated to move to the U.S. for various reasons, and he was about 18 years old when he came over. And Joseph is one of the many people that someone said, you got to see this guy, you got to meet this guy. And someone took him, and he talked with him and watched what he did. And much like I did when I met Joseph, it didn't take but a few minutes before Joseph said, this is the guy I want to train with. And they would train in parks and at somebody's backyard or whatever they could find to train in. They had a studio and an upstairs room in a building at one time. And eventually he created the Li Jun Fan Kung Fu Institute of Seattle, Washington. And then
He meaning
Bruce did, yes.
Bruce, yeah.
Bruce was his American name because as his family was traveling in California as entertainers, Bruce was born in San Francisco, and that made him a citizen of the U.S. as well. And then their family went back to China, and he was a citizen there. But that's why he was able to come to the U.S. He was a citizen in the U.S. because he was born here. And so when he came here, his goal was to introduce the world to Chinese Kung Fu. And his method for doing that was to go to Hollywood and get involved in TV and movies here. And with his background as a child movie star in China, that was pretty normal. And so Joseph was one of many people, including Bruce's wife, that he met, Linda Lee. They were all students of his when he first came to America. And then he began to go to California, and the more he did that, the less he was in Seattle until he finally moved. Joseph, some of the students stayed in the Seattle area, and then Joseph and some of the others ended up moving. Joseph went to Grand Prairie, Texas.
That's when you got involved.
That's where I met him. I was looking for something different in the martial arts than what I had been training in. And I finished my university degree. I was in Brownwood, Texas at Howard Payne University. And I finished there in 1975, and I went to seminary, Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary in Fort Worth, Texas. I became a Southern Baptist minister, and I was going to do my seminary work, graduate school work, there at Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary. And a guy that I had gone to college with, big guy, he named David. David was a Vietnam veteran. He was about 6'6" or 7", outweighed me about 120 pounds. And we met one day for lunch because he went to seminary as well. He was becoming a minister as well. And he said, "I met someone that you need to go meet." And I said, "What?" He said, "You were talking about you're looking for something." He said, "I got someone you need to meet." And he took me to Joseph's house. And Joseph had a training facility there at his home. And it took about 15 minutes of him explaining to me and showing me things that made more sense than 4 years of previous training. And I said, this is what I'm looking for. I said, I'm looking for that thing that would help me deal with a very experienced and aggressive street fighter like my brother. And yeah, I did a lot of fighting with him. So I needed the kind of stuff that would work against that kind of guy.
Oh my God.
Fast and mean and instantly go from calm to psychotic. That was my brother. And Matt, if you're hearing this now, that was before you were a human.
Self-defense in your own home.
That's it, yeah. So,
oh my God.
And Joseph, he just made so much sense. And I said, I'm ready to train. And I started training with him. I started training with the big guy that introduced me. And we would train, but he ended up having to drop out. But I continued. I went there quite a lot. And we would train for hours at a time. And occasionally there were some really good martial artists that worked with Joseph. And I was privileged to meet them and get to train with a lot of them, you know, from different backgrounds, but just really excellent fighters.
So
Teachers, yeah.
Yeah, so let me ask you, so that would be, so Bruce Lee taught Joseph.
Yeah.
And then Joseph taught you.
Yes, sir.
So you're basically, so that'd be dad, son, that'd be, so Bruce Lee
would be my grandfather.
Bruce Lee's
Yes.
his grandfather.
And they actually have a system like
Wow.
that where you're familially related. And unfortunately for me, Bruce had died 3 years before I met Joseph, or I would have been able to meet him because they had kept contact with student to student to Bruce.
So I could say on the show, Bruce Lee's grandson.
Yeah, which the
Maybe
grandson.
I'll make that the title.
Yeah, you know, yeah, and it's interesting because I just got the chance about a month and a half ago to meet My grandson that was in Alaska, because I had moved away before he was born from Alaska. I'd moved away from Alaska before he was born, and he came to visit me. He's 15 years old, and it was the first time I got to meet him
Wow.
in person. And so I was his grandfather, and he was my grandson, but we had never met. In this case, I never got to meet Bruce because Bruce had passed on before I ever met Joseph. And much to my just lack of not having that opportunity. But to be able to train with any of those students who got to personally train with Bruce
incredible.
is just an honor beyond belief, because Joseph changed my life. I counted him as the second father, and my dad was a good father. My dad was a good man. I didn't need to replace my dad, but Joseph was like a second father, and what he taught me, he taught Wing Chun as it was taught to him. He taught the modifications that Bruce was growing as he taught Joseph. And the whole idea was, Joseph said, you're going to make this fit you. There's principles of interaction that apply in any situation that are effective, time-tested, and proven. But you're going to tailor it to your strengths and weaknesses. The things that work well for you, you will do them and continue to grow them. The things that don't work well for you, you'll set them aside. You'll keep them, but you'll set them aside because the next student you have, that might be the thing that works best for them. But the things he taught me, and Bruce had a thing where I listened to you with my hands. I called it the language of touch and feel. And you do a thing called Chisao, sticking hands. And it's a drill that you start, various drills. And it really affected me because what it does is I eventually began to do most of my training eyes closed or blindfolded. Make contact and you go from there. And got into doing that very aggressively and very high speed. And it's a little bit of a rough way to train because you're gonna get a little beat up trying to learn how to do
Yeah, it
that.
sounds like it.
and all, but the outgrowth of it is you bypass sight and you go by feel because it's quicker. It uses a quicker system. It's direct input.
Interesting.
But it's a language. Once you learn the language, you speak it. Because every encounter you have is a relationship. Granted, an immediate deadly threat relationship is a really crappy relationship.
Right. It's a divorce. It's a divorce from the beginning.
But it is a relationship, and you're speaking.
Right.
You're talking. You're communicating, and you just want to communicate well enough that you can safely get you or your family or whoever out of that situation as best you can, so that no one gets killed or harmed terribly, etc.
Well, I think that number one, I'm glad I know you, and you've always been just a fine gentleman. We kept bumping into each other, and then all these other things, and then I was like, ran into Chris, and then and yeah, he's Daniel's my dad. It's okay. I said, your dad taught you all this stuff. It's unbelievable. But anyway, bottom line is you should get involved with Front Sight if you're interested in protecting yourself and your family. And it's not just about handguns. It's the whole theme all around a defensive mechanism. That's really a solid way to do it. And I love the place. It's it's a vacation for me. I mean, it's work. I mean, it's not easy, but thanks for coming out on my show. Are we gonna say something else? Go ahead.
I'm just telling you, in these days and times, people need to train. They need to be prepared to deal with people when they get out of hand, because we got a lot of them that are getting out of hand, and they don't care who you are, and they don't have the same sensibilities and limitations, guidelines in their life, morals, whatever, that many of us grew up with. And so they'll do harm. and they won't bat an eye. They won't think about it. They won't debate it. They'll just do. And if you're not prepared to be able to cope with that, you're going to lose just from the very fact that you are not prepared in mind or physical capabilities to deal with that. So
That's good advice.
get the training.
Yeah, get the training. And so not only is he the grandson to Bruce Lee, but also the grandson to Johnny Cash.
I
Hence
fell into a burning ring of fire. Yeah, that might be it.
Thanks, man.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Oh. Well, that might take some editing.